Major spoilers for A Silent Voice. A Silent Voice is a manga-adapted movie that aired and was consistently touted for its great animation, incredible pacing, and the way it dealt with the language barrier. It was so good that I outclassed similar movies like Your Name, the Haruhi Suzumiya movie, and Weathering With You, and was rated as the 11th best anime with a 9-star rating on my anime list. Now that I've established all of this, I'm here to talk about none of it. I'm here to talk about the characters. More importantly, the idea of selflessness versus selfishness, and the constantly flipping dynamic that makes these characters feel like they are actually growing as the story goes on. In my eyes, A Silent Voice follows 5 main parts. The first being a prologue of sorts, an introduction to the main character Shoyo Ishida and his suicidal tendencies. This doesn't have a huge plot bearing, but it makes Shoyo as a character feel more imperfect, not some shonen protagonist who has no problems. This is only exemplified in the next part, the flashback. In the movie, it starts by depicting the relationships between Shoyo and his classmates. He's the loud, boisterous, and selfish kid that doesn't have the sympathy or empathy for others. He thinks only for himself and often can't grasp the idea that he's hurting another person. He's unable to feel for them. The classmates are very similar. They end up abandoning him for the sake of self-preservation. This is the case for most people around Shoyo. However, his counterpart, his Achilles heel, and the imperfections of Shoyo are all put into a human form named Shoka Nishimiya, who, unlike his classmates, stay there for him, even if he's the one bullying her. Following the flashback of sorts, we enter the third major part, where Shoyo has turned from that same selfish kid to someone who can't even care for himself at this point. Someone who's ready to lose it all, and because of his trauma can't bear to look at others, disregarding their faces completely. We see this pushed to the extreme in the prologue, and only continues throughout the story as some sort of sick omen or looming inevitability. He finds some solace, however, in the girl he bullied. The girl who has all his imperfections, and he learns to care for her, and she learns to love him, but can't get the words out because of her disability. A lot of this story focuses on Shoyo's character, but that's not to disregard Shoko. She as a person is shown to go through hell and back, tormented from her castmates, consistent pains, and often she puts up a front towards other people as if everything is fine. It clearly isn't. She's not okay, and the way it foreshadows the climax as if it's some sort of tragic ending makes her story seem so incomplete yet so devastating. This all amounts to the climax, the fourth part of our story. The climax is very powerful. It's often the major point of a story and can make or break a narrative as a whole. It's the culmination of all the character growth, plot twists, and emotions a story can make someone feel. In A Silent Voice, the character arcs reach the same inevitability that was foreshadowed earlier. We start at a firework festival, a place associated with happy memories, and soon we see the departure of Nishimiya, without her even saying "see you again," in her same happy-go-lucky facade that she's carried throughout the whole story. This leads to the fateful scene.
ちょっと待って。何してんの？西宮？西宮？
This scene that I can't even begin to give justice to is where Shoyo in essence was able to become the most selfless person. He was ready to give his life for another. He was ready to lose himself, the same self he hates so much, for another. He turns Nishimiya into a character who needs caring, the one who is selfish, the same Nishimiya who cared for him in elementary school. Nishimiya's actions directly affected those around her. Because of her debatably selfish wants and her extraneous pain throughout life, she opts for a way out. The only reason she can't is because the man she has grown to love, the only one who will care to understand her even with his own flaws, has grown as a character more than anyone else. He simply won't allow it. Shoyo's character started in a rough spot. He was by no means the self-righteous protagonist many stories tend to employ, but instead he was flawed. He reminds me of real people, someone who isn't completely flawless, someone whose ideals and actions are questionable, someone who isn't perfect. He's that and so much more. Often when I look at this scene, I ponder why. Why didn't Nishimiya jump in the end? After Shoyo fell, would someone in her mental state not have assumed the worst? Would she not have taken the easy way out? In simplicity, I've realized the answer to that. She cares for him too much. She has found someone to put her life into. Often in the real world, people can find it hard to live for themselves or find something to live for. In this, however, Nishimiya places all her faith in her will to live in Shoyo. And seeing him get hurt, she can't help but worry for him, placing his safety over her selfish wants. As we exit this climactic scene, we reach the epilogue in my eyes. A part of the story where we can see the character growth and difference from beginning to end. We see the fact that Shoyo is able to look up and look at others. Nishimiya is able to communicate and form a group of friends, and that's not even touching on all the side characters who have also grown with our main duo. Side characters like Yuzuru, Nagatsuka, and Ueno grow in their own ways, dissuade themselves of their own past, and are even able to communicate and be friendly with each other even after all the actions they've taken. These interactions are some of my favorite, with the disdain that Ueno has for Nishimiya being shown in multiple scenes, all the while maintaining the characters and fleshing out their feelings even more so. Shoyo is this link for those side characters. As a protagonist, he's almost perfect for this kind of story. He's flawed, he's caring, and most of all, he's gone through the pain that he's made others feel. He's had that realization that what he was doing was wrong. He's changed, and in a sense, he's become the man that many people can only strive to be. He's looked back, changed, and looked ahead, and that is only shown through his actions, as he grows from a bully to a literal lifesaver. This video ended up being sort of a silent voice appreciation post, and it may be, but all of this and more is why a silent voice is so damn good. There's so many times and places where the story can't help but show off the characters that they've developed, and rightfully so. In a way that is simple and beautiful, they tackle so many major problems, from the language barrier and relationships to suicidal tendencies and bullying, and I can't help but say praise for a silent voice more and more. It is, in my eyes, one of the greatest movies anime will ever have to offer.